with our second interview of this Sunday. It had to be Lou. Captain Lou from the Captain Lou Extravaganza. What is going on, brother man?
Mike, I tell you, living the dream, man. It's great to be with you on a Sunday. I love coming on and talking sports with you.
And I promised the people I would get Captain Lou on. He's one of my favorites from 12 Sports if I had to, choose somebody.
Well, there you go. It has to be that.
We have so many good guys now. Come on now.
Oh, I know. We got a loaded lineup, don't we? It's a lot of fun to be a part of.
And let's go ahead and get into that. Our first 5 or 6 topics. We're going to talk about your show, the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Give us a little bit of update because I'm the third leg. I come in late night on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
How did you come up with that name? Just tell me what we're all about.
Well, I started out a radio name from way back, way before you were born, Mike, and back in the 80s at Central Michigan. Captain Lou kept it simple. We were an alternative rock station back then.
Wow.
We were AM station. You could pick us up on FM if you hooked up your radio to the cable. That's how long ago it was. You don't do that anymore, but that's how I got that name. And then with the advent of the internet and being able to do podcasts about 9 years ago, I started it with my son. We used to call it the Captain Lou and Matt Show. And then I started with Captain Lou's Pucks and Pigskins with 12 ounce 2.5 years ago, and then changed the name because I wanted to talk more than just hockey. I love hockey and love football, but I wanted to get all the sports in. So I just changed it to the Extravaganza, and we'll talk about anything that's popular.
So I have 2 questions super quick for you. Number one, I didn't know that you were not the, I always knew you was Captain Lou Extravaganza. I've been on Total Sports for a good 1.5 years. I didn't even know that part.
Oh yeah. It's, I went to school for radio again, back in the 80s at Central. And unfortunately radio is a dying breed. It's all internet, which is fine. It just more competition makes better quality. We've talked about that. And, I've been doing that. I did, I do some things with the ACHA, we call the ACHA Power Play. I did a podcast with them for a couple of years too. And then, but Captain Lou that's been my moniker for ever since, after Captain Lou Albano, the late wrestler manager in the WWF way back in the day. So
that's good. I like the backstory there. I love it. Love the history of the Captain Lou. So since you mentioned the AHCA, I'm trying to learn these hockey acronyms.
All right.
The next topic I'm going to get to for a little bit is your hockey broadcast, because I know quite a few people who know you know that you're a hockey play-by-play kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
How did that start, and just explain? We'll get into it first of all. How did it start?
Well, I've always been a fan of hockey ever since I was a kid. I grew up listening to the Red Wings up in the Upper Peninsula back in the 70s, and also the Canadiens. I've got family that are from Montreal, so my grandfather and I used to listen to it on a French-speaking station once in a while, way back in the day. And so it's always been something I wanted to do. And unfortunately, and again, before the advent of the internet, there's only so many play-by-play jobs out there.
Yeah.
And it started out. I finally got a break doing college hockey with Aquinas College through the ACHA in 2015. Started doing play-by-play there with them, and they've got a very solid program out of the ACHA. They started out at the Division III level and have moved up to D1, and they gave me some opportunities, and through that I've gotten to meet some great coaches. The ACHA is technically, yes, it's club hockey, but there are some NHL or coaches with NHL experience that are head coaches. Rick Zombo, for example, he played for the Blues and the Red Wings. Lindsey Rupp was a goalie for a lot of years in Canada, and he coached in Lindenwood. So it's given me an opportunity to do something I love. ACHA is there's 400 teams in 5 divisions,
wow,
men and women throughout the U.S. and a few in Canada that have joined the ACHA. And so they have national tournaments, except for this year with COVID, they've had to restructure it back to where they're doing individual cities for their divisions, but the NHL has partnered with them, and there's cities like Columbus in 17 and 18, and then we went to Dallas, and then we were supposed to go to Boston, just outside of Boston, their practice facilities. But again, with COVID, that's going to be in 2023. 2022, we're going to be in St. Louis, and it's a great alternative for the kids, men and women that just can't quite get to the D1 level to continue their education and also play competitive hockey.
Hey, I like that. I didn't realize it took you until 2015 to catch your big break, which means I might be waiting a while.
Hey,
that's interesting.
Again, it's just that's with hockey. I've done high school sports for a lot of years. Since 1981, I think was my first play-by-play game, and then I did it in the 80s, early 90s. Took some time off, and then started doing high school games again about 15 years after that. And so it's again, there's a ton of opportunities out there if you knock on doors, man, to get play-by-play, and it's they're there.
Right. So I want to save. We have two little debates, but I want to save those for a little bit.
Sure.
In a few minutes. Let's talk about since you're talking about homegrown local stuff. We know you're a Michigan sports fan. That would probably include the Lions. I see the Wolverines. If I can, is that a Wolverine? Yes, it's the Wolverines. Yes, tell us, man. Just tell us your Michigan sports love, the teams that give you the fits, and just how did it all start?
Well, I'll tell you, Michigan obviously is my favorite team, as you can tell in the background. It's funny I grew up watching them again with my dad, my grandfather, my mom. My earliest recollection of Michigan was I always get the year wrong. I'm going to say 1973 when they tied Ohio State 10-10.
Oh, I hate ties.
And well, back then they didn't have overtime.
Right.
So the Big Ten had the rule where they only sent one team to bowl games, and also you could not go to the Rose Bowl 2 years in a row from the Big Ten. Well, they had to have a athletic director meeting to vote to see who got the right to go to the Rose Bowl. Well, it came down to Michigan State getting the deciding vote for the Big Ten, and guess who they picked? And it wasn't Michigan. So my dad was so upset, and even though he's a State fan, he was so upset. I took that the wrong way, and I became a Michigan fan. And we've had a lot of heartbreaking years. Warren Moon beating us when we were the best team in the country in '78. The phantom touchdown with USC the next year. Ohio State breaking our hearts. We've had one national title in my in my time in '97, and it would have been, I'll go to my grave with this one. It should have been outright, but Phil Fulmer was upset that Peyton Manning didn't get the Heisman and Desmond Howard got it. And so he voted Michigan fourth, even though they're undefeated. So, but that's my love for them and the Lions, Yeah,
and then you have the Lions.
The Lions, I'll bleed Honolulu blue, and, I'll be there tomorrow watching them, or next Sunday, whatever. Thanksgiving, it's, can't help it.
And I live in Georgia, and I got to endure through Matt Stafford. Now he's all yours.
Well, I love Stafford. I'd go to battle with him. Guy's one tough SOB, and he's had no coaching, and to me,
no stability.
Horrible offensive line. He's got a decent running game now. If Swift can
sometimes the running game comes and goes with Stafford.
I love Swift, but if he can stay healthy, he's got a concussion. He's not playing, right. So I think Stafford hasn't gotten any help. And I know he's made some goofy decisions once in a while, but
right.
I'll stand behind him. He's better than what we've ever had in my lifetime.
And what a perfect way to segue into our first debate here. So, as a Colts fan, another way that we are linked is our long career quarterbacks. Now, I will say this, which is weird. I know this may not be popular. I like Stafford more than Rivers. I don't know why. I would take him over Rivers. Now, as a Colts fan, I know he's like, however, 38, whatever now. Phillip Rivers is overpaid now. And I feel like he's holding us back, kind of like he held San Diego when they were called the San Diego Chargers back. But you believe he should be in the Hall of Fame, and I believe he should be in the Hall of Very Good for a long time.
Well,
why do you like Phillip Rivers in the Hall of Fame?
I just look at his numbers and his longevity. And, to me, you know what he reminds me of? And he reminds me of Cal Ripken. Cal Ripken, to me, the only reason he's he's a good ball player. Is he Hall of Fame with his ability? I don't think so.
That's fair.
But he's been, he had that he had the consecutive game streak. That got him in the Hall of Fame. I look at Phillip Rivers. He's been there 18 years, 62,000 yards he's thrown for. Now, I get it. Your point about being the 2000s quarterback, after you said that, I thought about it, and I thought, you know what? I can go along with that to a certain extent. And, when I compared him to Dan Marino, maybe that wasn't fair. Dan Marino did go to the Super Bowl.
It's because he didn't have a ring. Let's get out of the way. That's why it's thrown out there, because Dan doesn't have a ring, so any quarterback doesn't have a ring is compared. But go ahead.
But, I think Phillip Rivers has done more with less talent than Dan Marino did too. And that San Diego, he's put up some good records out there. And he played in one playoff. The one year he had a torn ACL. He played. And I think he's Hall of Fame quality. And to me, he's always going to get compared to Eli Manning. Eli Manning has gotten 2 lucky catches.
I would take Rivers over Manning, and I'm a Peyton Manning guy, but I'm not an Eli Manning. I believe if it was Eli Smith, nobody would care.
100% agree with you, Mike. And that's real quick. Like I said, a David Tyree catch has gotten him to probably going in the Hall of Fame, and
I don't like that.
And I don't like it either. But I think with the New York media on his side, he's a shoe in, man.
And with my Phillip Rivers thing, I will say this as well. Phillip, I get the longevity thing, but I don't know, like, if 50 years from now, and this is not saying that there aren't people in the Hall of Fame that don't need to be there, because obviously we can go on for days and weeks and months. But I feel like Phillip Rivers, in 50 years, would I vote the dude in as, wow, you remember Phillip Rivers? I don't feel like anybody says, I feel like people are going to say, no. I see him on the list of stats, but I don't know.
That's a great point, Mike. Yeah, I can't argue with that. And I think it's like baseball's getting that way. It's the Hall of Very Good.
Right.
If Harold Baines can get elected into the Hall of Fame by any committee, then it's watered down. And I think, the one thing I like about the NFL is they don't care if you're a choir boy or not. You're going in, and I don't know. It's great fodder for guys like you and me to go back and forth, because I still think Phillip Rivers is Hall of Fame worthy. He won't get in right away, but I think he's going to play one more year after this somewhere else. It won't be Indy unless they go to the Super Bowl, and then they'll feel compelled to have him.
Woo!
And I would love to see it. I want him to get a Super Bowl ring. I really do.
And that would definitely change. I don't believe that rings will change my mind, but if he played well, I could maybe leave.
Okay. All right.
And real quick before I go on, because I know it's been 15 minutes and I don't really care at this point. Do you believe that Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, if they didn't exist, I know it's kind of easy to say, do you believe he might have had a ring or at least an appearance?
Oh, definitely, without a doubt, because they're the 2 dominant teams in the AFC, and I love Peyton Manning and Tom Brady being a Michigan guy, but it's they won when they had to, and there's a lot to be said for that. And but I do think that he might have been in the wrong era, as far as that goes. If it weren't for them, he would at least got to the Super Bowl. Whether they won one, I don't know.
And that's the debate. One thing I love about 12 on Sports is we are context people. But we have our opinions, of course, but we do realize we're not ESPN. We're not just going to show up and say, well, this happened and this is why. Like, it's everything goes into place. And speaking of the devil, this is why I also believe last night when this is aired, Purdue was playing, I don't know who. I will admit I didn't see
Minnesota.
the game. There you go, Minnesota. Oh, look at you. Why do you believe without getting into that game too much, there was an offensive pass interference call that was called. It's not supposed to be. FanDuel has even, given people their money back on their parlays, which is insane, which means a lot of backlash is happening. Why do you believe a last call such as a Saints-Rams interference determines the outcome of a game?
Well, I'll tell you, to me, it's just like, it's just, a team, in my opinion, of the likes of Jacksonville. I'll use that game against Green Bay. They had that holding call that took away the game-winning touchdown last week. Now, I understand your points about there are other aspects of the game that you can't blame the referees totally, but in that game last night, they went down, they threw the pass. There was no contact.
Yeah.
Referee, and I liken that to an anticipation call in the NBA where they're going down the lane, they'll blow the whistle, even though
because it's LeBron or Giannis, right?
And but I think that it's a point. It does cost teams a game. I mean, Purdue, they had the perfect game plan. They got some breaks they should have won without it. I'm not going to argue with that. Right. They should have kicked a field goal before that. They missed it. That would have tied the game. It wouldn't have cost them the game. But that referee call helped determine the outcome of that game because they went in, they scored the go-ahead touchdown. The very next play, they threw an interception.
Right.
And Minnesota did not deserve that win last night. Not only with that, PJ Fleck's coaching philosophies to me are mind-boggling. Going for it on their own end with fourth down and whatever. But the Jacksonville game against Green Bay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying this because I do not like
Packers.
Aaron Rodgers. I don't like the Packers. I'll admit it. I'm 100% up front on that one, Mike. But when you're a Jacksonville team that's 1-8 or whatever they are, they played the perfect game plan against the Packers.
Against a great team.
Toe-to-toe with them. Toe-to-toe. On the road, even though there's no fans, and to have the referee call like that holding call, you could call holding on every play in the NFL.
Right.
And to me,
why call it there?
To me, that was a problem, and I think that cost the Jaguars the game. And sure, you can go back and you can pick out 3 or 4 instances, and I agree with you after what you said. One pick does not make a game. One fumble or one bad call or one bad play call by a coach. But when you have the game plan that Jacksonville executed against Green Bay and then have that taken away because of a bad call, to me that cost them the game. That's if it wasn't the only thing, it
was one thing at least.
It was one of the main things that cost them that game, and it's a shame that it's hard because I always want the referees to be a part of the game. I'm not a big fan of replay. College replay, Mike, is taking way too long. These college games are 4 hours long. It's ridiculous. Baseball's the same way. But what do? It's like I said to you real quick. You can't get good referees anymore. They don't want to take the abuse at the high school or even the middle school level. And the referees we have now, they're older.
It's not popular.
The athletes,
social media. You're right. I've heard about. Like, there's been times, especially NBA games, where they'll make a few bad calls or one guy will be fouled out. I've heard they have to have security. And that, to me, is where sports are taken too far. I know you'll agree with me on that.
100%.
But it's like, it doesn't make it any easier to want to be a referee.
No.
At all.
I look at, in the state of Michigan, they had a 30% attrition rate this year, which, granted, some of it's COVID. I get it. Right. But you look at these, the referees are older. They can't keep up with the players. I mean, they're bigger, stronger, faster. And they don't want to take the abuse from the fans, the parents at the lower levels. And so you can't get them to go to the college level. Then you have to cherry pick. You get referees at the college level that aren't really that talented to be there, and you're going to get bad calls. But I just think that it is, I hate that. I shouldn't use the word irresponsible. I just think it's to say that a referee does not have a bad call, does not have a hand in a loss, to me is wrong. The Lions, and I know everybody's got their own opinion, but I will go to my deathbed with Dean Blandino being on the Dallas Cowboys party bus the night before that playoff game.
Oh, wow.
And they picked up that face guarding penalty against the Cowboys, that still burns my butt. But like I could go on for that for an hour.
And I believe like the Saints obviously have a case against the Rams because to be fair, the Saints would have put up more than 3 points against the Patriots than the Rams would have.
Right.
But I just feel like Drew Brees, in the Saints Rams game, he goes and he only has like an overtime opportunity, but people will always remember because it was so blatant. And I get it, but I feel like there comes a time where it's like the Jaguars against the Packers. They had Jake Luton at quarterback, or whatever you want to call him, Jake Crouton. The dude was just, they shouldn't have been. And you're right, it was a great game plan. I understand that, and I understand that referees maybe have a slight little agenda. Like an ESPN employee, I was watching TV one time, and he said, we're not saying the Patriots, pay off the referees too, because nobody's going to fake the NFL, right? It's impossible.
Right.
But we're also not saying the night before Bill Belichick slides more money than the other coach did to the referee in case something happens. Like D Ford.
Yeah, they still had to play defense in New Orleans in that game. They could have stopped.
Right. And social media and the internet does not help.
Oh, 100%, Mike. And that's, again, it gives good fodder for guys like you and me to go back and forth.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Media and then come on here, and it's all in good fun.
It's good. Yeah, of course. Like, and I'll always say this, the sports, and I know you've grown to accept it as well. It's not that serious. Like, I know, granted, when we had no sports for 3 months?
Yeah.
I was like, man, I don't want to go outside, but I don't want to watch TV either.
It's a great distraction for the real world right now. And
that's, huge. And we need it. We need it.
We do right now. No doubt about it.
Our last topic with old Captain Lou is your 6-pack challenge. Mm-hmm. Now, to preface this, the reason I brought this up is because you won a giveaway.
I did.
And I was
that, by the way, thank you.
Oh, you did get it?
Mm-hmm. I did.
Okay, I'm happy that came quickly.
Snail mail, man.
So I did a giveaway on my show, and Lou won a $25 Dick's gift card. That's pretty cool. It's not bad. Yeah. I'm going to do a bigger one later on, probably in December for my year anniversary of Mike's Said It First. But Captain Lou, explain your 6-pack challenge and just.
Well, what we do is I take 3 games each week. Well, when they're both playing college and pro football against the spread. And your job is to pick those games against me.
3 of them.
Again, it's against the spread. I get the spread on our site off of one of our sponsors, MyBookie.ag. And
nobody does it like 12 Sports on MyBookie. Go ahead.
That's right. And I picked a spread there Tuesday night. So what you do, the 3 ways that you can be a part of this contest is you follow me on Facebook, my Facebook page, the Captain Lou Extravaganza, put them on there, or follow me on Twitter at Real Captain Lou. You can DM me or just put them on that page. Or again, what 90% of the people do, it's crazy, is send me an email on my show email address, which is captainlousports@gmail.com.
Nice.
And then if you beat me, you're in the drawing at the end of the year for a $100 Visa gift card that I give away. And we give it away the day after the national championship game in college. And so it's funny is, unfortunately, I've been under the weather the last month, so I haven't really been able to do a whole lot of it, but I was ahead. I was over the Mendoza line. This is the first time in the 3 years I've done it.
Hey,
I think I told you guys last year, I went through a 5-week stretch where I was 7-22-1.
Ooh.
Horrible. And then I came on like gangbusters. Right now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'm 2 over the Mendoza line with 2 pushes. So, which the Mendoza line is supposed to be 200 batting average. I call it's the 500 line. So, it's that easy. It's a lot of fun, and it seems like, Mike, every year, as the closer to the end of the season, the more people tend to get in with it, because
then you realize what teams are, and it's easier.
In baseball, we got, in normal years, we got baseball that really dominates sports, and then football starts to get going right after about Halloween, and hopefully this year we can get everything in. I think NFL will. College, it's every week.
Oh, so annoying.
But that's how it works, and I invite everybody to take you as well. Just be a part of it. And it's, just a little bit of fun, banter back and forth, no purchase necessary. Just get on there, have some fun with it. And, just, that's that.
Love this, dude. So as we're heading out now, I'm gonna check my notes. I'm 19-6 this year. My first 25 ever against the spread. Shout out Vegas Squares for just. It was like they got me on their show a few times, and I was like, man, this is pretty fun. Because straight up pick'em can make me so mad.
Yeah,
I'll have 11 out of 14 games right one week, and then like 6.
Oh, it's amazing.
The spread is just great. I love it.
And if you keep that kind of winning percentage up, man, you got to get yourself a 900 line or something, man. Because
you know what? It's funny because like Pete's Power Plays and Pop DiBiase are like the cream of the crop. They have clients, and I'm like, hey, let me keep this up.
You ever see the movie Two for the Money with Matthew McConaughey? It's from about 6 years ago. Look it up. It's a sports book show, and it's funny as he went 12 for 12 on his picks or whatever, and Armand Asante. It's a great movie. Check it out. And but the gambling gods, man, there's a reason why the best ones are 62% or 65, because just when you think you got it. And I'll give you one story, and then I know you're up against it. It was about 5 years ago. I went on a different sport book line before my bookie came around, and I was able to get on. It was an offshore line, and I did a 16 parlay, a $25 bet, and it hit for $375. And I thought, boy, I know it all. That was the only bet I got right for like 2 months after that. I went through all that money and then a little bit more. And I mean, 16 parlays to me are sucker bets, but if you hit one, you think you know it all. And
but don't feel like FanDuel, like you're like, oh, I made some money this week, and then you just spend it all for no reason.
Oh, it's easy to do. It's just like playing cards at a casino, man. You win one week and you think you got it made. You go and you get cracked, and it's very humbling. It's like golf, man. No matter what happens, you get humbled just as quick.
And I have one last question, because I'm going with the flow here to Captain Lou. Okay, you get me on these tangents here. Do you believe, because this was a debate, it's obviously gambling, but I think it takes skill, and I don't think people realize it. Like, and I understand like that things like the Phantom offensive pass interference. Shout out FanDuel again for doing what they did,
right?
Which I think is a little bit weird, but I feel like it takes a little bit of skill.
Oh,
I mean, you gotta know your stuff. It ain't just like hope his Powerball hits. No, it's like you gotta know your stuff.
I agree 100%. Like I said, the good ones that get 65%, they're doing their homework.
Right.
You look at the injury reports, you look at the weather, you look at the trends, this and that, and no, there's no doubt there's skill involved. You got to be able, to have the time to do that, be able to research it, and then. If you do use a service to help you pick, you got to be able to trust them. They do their homework, but but again, to me, picking games, it's like playing poker. One of my fantasies was to be a professional poker player.
Ooh.
But you got to be able to number one, you got to be able to have the bankroll to withstand the droughts, because they're going to come. And you're gonna be really high, then you're gonna be really low, and you got to be able to withstand that, and you got to stay in your means, because if you don't stay in your means, then you're gonna say if you have a rough Sunday,
right?
You're gonna try to double it on Monday, man, and and it's again, I'll use my poker analogy, a story that I had 25 years ago. I went up on a Sunday to play poker at a place up north of here where I live, and I was chasing all day. I ended up spending my rent money and my car payment, and I was way over my means. Right. And I'll never forget that. And I remember pulling over on the side of the road and getting sick. And I had to borrow money to pay my bills, and that was a rude awakening. That was before my son was born and everything. So I learned a lesson. You got to stay within your means. That means betting smart and doing your homework.
So before I get you to close it out, because I love your closing statements for the Captain Lou. 19 of 25 is 76%. So if let me keep this up, bro. Please.
Hell yeah, man. I hope you do. That's great. Like I said, if you can keep it up, do your homework, and I'll tell you,
You might see the mics in the first line next to the MGM and stuff like that.
There you go. Awesome, man. I hope so.
No. Okay, all right. Do me a favor. This is the Captain Lou signature here, and then I'll shut it off. Lou, what do you always tell people as your show concludes?
Well, what I tell everybody, and it's true, just keep your heads up, keep your feet moving, keep your sticks down, and as always, keep your minds open.
It's the run. Good job.